Hello, good to be with you today for our daily reflection. It's taken from the YouVersion Bible app verse of the day. Today it's from 1 Corinthians.
13, and it says, "And now these three remain, faith, hope and love, but the greatest of these is love." I've heard that a few times at a few weddings.
Yeah, that's right. Faith, hope and love.
Yeah, although that's not the context Paul's writing about.
No, not at all.
It's about how to get on as people, particularly in the context of the church, but really it's about humanity, about the heart of it, because that's what Jesus said. You know, what's the greatest commandment? To love God with all your heart, soul, mind and strength, and love your neighbour as yourself. And also Jesus went on to say, love your enemies as well, and through the Old Testament it's full of loving the stranger amongst you. So love is the heart.
It comes back to that all the time, doesn't it?
Yeah. But also it's interesting in this that it's Paul's famous triplet, faith, hope and love.
Yep.
It's interesting how he puts all those three together. The greatest is love, and that's really important to remind ourselves, but I'm also reminded in Colossians where he talks about the faith and the love that spring from hope.
Okay.
And that hope is our hope that God has got things in hand.
And hope is pretty critical to keeping on going in our everyday life, isn't it? Yeah. How do you keep going if you don't have hope?
Yeah. Well, when hope disappears, then you don't have faith and love. See, faith and love spring from hope. So the greatest is love, but it's often not the source. Hope has to come first, and often in people's life, say in marriages or in relationships, where hope of a future is lost, then it's difficult for people to love each other.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's an interesting triplet that Paul puts together here, faith, hope and love. And, you know, I think it's been true, say, in our relationship of that hope, trust in that space, that even if we get cross with each other, like we did yesterday, or we get angry with each other, or you know, things are not going quite as smoothly, we have got that hope and that trust deep down that God will look after us, that we know at our best we want to do the right thing by each other, and that helps us to have a foundation to work through other issues.
Yep, and then take us through the next steps in terms of faith and love.
Yeah, because and love is the greatest, the most important, but probably the most delicate. You know, it's the fragile one more than any of the others. And once hope is gone, then love starts to disappear. Yeah,
which is interesting in this day and age, because I know a lot of people, particularly the younger generation, lose hope. And so this is why we end up with things like high rates of anxiety and depression and despair and mental illness and
maybe even suicide.
As a result of lack of hope. So what can we do to bring hope when it feels like there is none? That's probably a quite big question for a lot of people.
Well, certainly for me, the hope comes back to my places where I can go to despair or feeling a bit overwhelmed, is that God's saying, I have got it in hand. That's what, you know, whole thing of Jesus coming amongst us and saying, God has it in hand, despite what it might look like. God is in the midst of what's going on. And for Jesus, that meant facing a lot of, you know, bitterness and recrimination, and a lot of people, particularly the religious leaders, not liking him, ultimately betrayal, being tried, crucified, brutally suffered, and died. And yet in the midst of that, he held on in hope and faithfulness that God loved him. He held on. And so the whole thing of Jesus is, hang on, God loves you. There is reason to hope in the midst of all that.
Yeah,
and that's fair for you too, isn't it? You know, life's not always easy for you.
No, it's not. And in there, of late, it's probably been more difficult, really, as I've taken time to stop and reconsider and connect with a whole lot of things that have happened quite deep down, that I've sort of pushed down for a long time. But it's been interesting going through that, and it's quite a cycle of up and down as I sort of come to grips with a lot of those things. But knowing that eventually I will get out the other side is a really good thing. It's good to know that.
Well, that's, you know, the trust is that God loves you. That's the hope, even despite what it feels like and what you're going through, and you hold on. and God's love will conquer all.
Yep, and that's a good way to remember.
Yep, that's good.
Catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.